Christians in America, we have spent too much time running with mindless sheep, strictly following the will of man. Now, it's these same people that will also think it's strange that you do not run with them anymore, and that you now and they speak behind your back, or they spew hatred at you directly, when we decide to follow the will of the Lord instead of the will of man. In either case, our current political and cultural environment is impacting your ability to preach the gospel beyond the walls of your church building. Therefore, Christians must be engaged in politics and culture, else the attempts to privatize Christian values will prevail. Well, God's going to take care of it. God takes care of things through his people. We have people that are at work trying to privatize our Christian and cultural values. Privatization is a process that forces a disconnect between private and public lives. They do that through legislation, and they do that through the court systems. Basically, that you need to keep your most sacred beliefs private. The secular and the liberal mindset is to keep church in church, and don't you dare do it anywhere else. I used to believe that, even telling my wife, who came to Christ years before I did, that as soon as she got to the door of the house, it stays at the door. It does not come in. It will not rule our lives. Man, I was wrong, and I've repented from that since. It is these sets of rules that impact what you do every day. Politics affects what you can or cannot say from the pulpit, and it's getting much more strict. Jesus chastised the Pharisees in Matthew 23 for having neglected the more important matters of the law: justice, mercy. Sometimes Jesus was right in your face, and he was telling you that you need to change. Jesus was tough, not the politically correct, feminized Jesus that we've allowed to permeate for some reason. We have a party today, a prevalent party, that they don't care if you have religious objections against abortion or homosexuality, and their positions are becoming significantly more aggressive and open. You either comply, or we will persecute you. We will hurt you, or we will have you removed. In Canada, for example, this is happening in the June-July timeframe of 2019. After significant Christian activism, theaters finally relented and planned to show the movie unplanned. However, soon after they made this decision, they started to receive death threats, as well as threats of mass violence if they showed the movie. So therefore, the theaters, they removed the movie again. This is what the progressive movement is all about. It's forcing you to comply or else. And making it worse, the current senior politicians in office in Canada support the removal of this movie and are speaking out against its message. The issues are real and the threat is real, but we cannot sit back. We have an opportunity in America to be engaged, to be involved in civil engagement. Pretty soon, if you don't do it now, they're going to take away the ability for you to do it in the future. That's what's happening. Christians have a wide variety of political notions and political beliefs, but we still need to be informed of the policies. We need to be engaged in the process, and we need to be active in the promotion of godly discourse. Now, because we have different political philosophies, yes, we're going to have Christians that have extremely opposing beliefs about immigration. We already know we have opposing beliefs about abortion and same-sex relationships and those sorts of things, but even about simple topics such as immigration. We have Christians that have opposing views about the economy. Anyway, as we live our lives, we are to keep our eye on the permanent kingdom of heaven, but we should also keep our other eye on the culture in which we live. We should never come to a place where we are hopeless, where we despair. Yes, things look ugly, and I'm even kind of sharing a little bit in this video series about what's happening in our culture, and it's not pretty. But even though it's not pretty, we should not feel hopeless. Kings rule. And while there are people at work to influence who that is going to be, God overrules. Here today, Americans live in a nation that, as Lincoln put it, in a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Jesus said to give Caesar what is Caesar's. That in Scripture right there is where a lot of Christians go to. That's their go-to source about we should not be involved. That's Caesar's. That's government. We should let government be government. That's Caesar's problem. But we in America get to vote in our Caesar. The people of Jesus' time did not. So in order to obey that command, remember our dual citizenship. Responsible in the kingdom and responsible on the earth as well. Christian citizens support their nation best when they are both patriotic and prophetic. From a Christian perspective, patriotism entails a healthy love of country that recognizes our nation as a gift of God. That gift is good. But like all of God's earthly gifts, it is temporary and it is imperfect. Also, like other divine gifts, it requires careful stewardship. Christians then do not have the option, when you think about stewardship, to opt out of the system. Rendering to Caesar means voting, paying your taxes, and being informed about the issues, both national and local.